Hello. Red is a good color. I like red. Word bearers. Sexy. Heresy Era Thousand Suns. Smash. Blood Angels. But you know what else is red? Blood. World Eaters. I haven't posted in a bit, and this is gonna hit the channel hard, but, you know, the YouTube game. If you enjoy this kind of video, please feel free to, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and then I can put a little more effort into making entertaining content for you to enjoy, friend. And as for the whole word bearers thing, I'm so glad someone's supporting my plastic crack addiction. It means the world to me. I can't stop. World Eaters are the chosen representative legion of Khorne. And as such, they appear whenever and wherever there is blood to be spilled and very much skulls to be taken. They are ferocious warriors who know nothing but rage and violence, making them ridiculously good berserkers. Thanks to the blessings of Khorne, you know, they have a bit of an opinion on guns. Tanks are cool, but tanks can't punch. Thus, the World Eaters are often seen in mass infantry as a literal red horde of demigod super soldiers who exist solely to tear your spine out of your taint. They're one of the most brutal of Chaos Legions who ever graced the face of the galaxy, and their war cry is infamous. If you've heard of 40k, if you have a passing interest in 40k, if you've even thought of the number 40, you will have heard this line: blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. It is a declaration of violent intent. It is a sentence on which only death has come from it. These words are one of the very select few that World Eaters berserkers can actually manage to utter cohesively, and goddamn do they go hard. This line is the chant that World Eaters recite whenever they go on a killing spree. It's not quite a prayer, though it has a lot of weight behind it. Nor is it a spell, though it can conjure mystical effects. Much in the way that Khorne behaves, this line is merely a pledge, a promise of harm, blood, and combat. For Khorne cares not from where the blood flows. All the major Space Marines and their legions, now chapters and successor chapters, they have a gimmick. The Ultramarines, they're nerds. Space Wolves, they're furries. The Raven Guard are genetically fucked over, or whenever they come in contact with the sun, they spontaneously combust. They're so emo. And crazy as it may seem, hear me out. The gimmick that the World Eaters had was the ability to heal pain, which is backwards considering that, look at them. But like the Night Lords, which I've talked about, feel free to watch the video as well. Cards on the top now. The World Eaters are a tale of tragedy, except I'm not going to post my online love letter to them, just give a faction breakdown. Before their Primarch Angron, the World Eaters Legion was known as the Warhounds, and even then they were quite brutal. But they were nowhere near as monstrous as they are in the 42nd millennium. Their original colors were blue, white, and gold trim, and a red Warhound on their shoulder to designate their legion, the Warhounds. In the earliest days of the Imperium, they served directly under the Emperor at the end of the Unification Wars, and even aided in conquering the Sol System. As the Great Crusade began, and continued, the Warhounds Legion gained a reputation for high casualty assaults with almost certainty of one result: total annihilation. Much like the early Blood Angels, they were ruthless murderers who were used to wrench non-compliant worlds into submission, and they were very good at doing just that. Later on in the Great Crusade, the Emperor eventually found Angron on a world known as New Syria. On this world, Angron was a gladiator slave who fought for the entertainment of godlike nobles and destitute serfs from whom he would entertain frequently, considering he was just a Primarch who, as a boy, was found literally surrounded by the corpses of just predators he had barehandedly torn apart. Angron was one of the most entertaining fucking things that the slavers had ever seen, and he always delivered a roaring crowd and massive profit margins. So as the stakes were raised, Angron would match them with little to no struggle. The gladiators of New Syria were all cybernetically enhanced as well, so the slavers, big brain idea, big think, realize, why not cybernetically enhance Angron? This would prove a challenge, as all cybernetic enhancements done would not really work, or they'd be pointless anyways. The physiology of the Primarch was leagues beyond the average man. They simply just weren't compatible, until the slavers tried one machine. An ancient device which stretched back to the golden age of humanity. This device certainly would work, as it had worked for all the gladiators of New Syria. However, the device was never meant for a Primarch brain. This device was called the Butcher's Nails. And on the average human brain, it enhanced a warrior's martial capabilities and increased the warrior's capacity for rage. The slavers surgically crammed these Butcher's Nails into Angron's head, and to the extent that the slavers cared, it worked flawlessly. Angron was now a brutal duelist who had no hesitation when it came to ending human lives, a perfect weapon. In Angron's final days on New Syria, he would plot a great escape from the jails of the Colosseums. Angron led from the front hundreds of slaves who broke out of their cells and made it to broad daylight high in the mountains. However, the escaped slaves were surrounded, with nowhere to run. Angron and his brothers were destined for death. But Angron was happy that he would die with them. Fully aware of his fate, the Emperor descended to Angron and offered him a means of salvation, a way out where he would live, a place beside the Emperor of mankind. But Angron refused to let his honor as a warrior be tarnished with such an act of cowardice, leaving men he had fought beside to the bitter end to die. And so Angron's fate was truly sealed. But Angron's demon Primarch now. He's currently alive, so what happened? Now, here's where we see the mask. Here's where we see behind the mask, the Emperor. The night before the final battle between the Eaters of Cities, the name which Angron's followers gave themselves, in 5 whole-ass fucking armies at least, the Emperor of Mankind teleported Angron aboard his personal flagship and stole him from New Syria, leaving all of his followers to die none the wiser. Angron, of course, was fucking livid about what just happened. But the Emperor does not take no for an answer. Angron was then reunited with the Warhounds and pretty much immediately decimated their entire command structure in a fit of just blinding rage. He slaughtered any officer who talked to him until one 8th Company captain of the Warhounds, Karn, survived his encounter with the Primarch and persuaded him to not kill any more of his own men. What an idea! Karn, the senior-most officer of the Warhound, by process of elimination, was one of the main reasons why the Legion got its name. To pay homage to the Eaters of Cities, the Warhounds wanted to prove themselves against those fallen warriors to become Eaters of Worlds, the World Eaters. From then on, the World Eaters continued to absolutely tear apart any enemy who stood in their way. This This is interesting. The fact they actually had still white, blue, and gold armor, which was adorned now instead of a war hound, just a world being eaten. However, the corruption of Khorne is insidious, slowly being tainted more red with every coming war. Their reputation for violence only grew, and in the years that followed, the Butcher's Nails only drove the 12th Primarch deeper into insanity. In the years before the heresy, as a way to attempt to grow closer to their Primarch, the Legion would implant themselves with the Proto-Butcher's Nails, which weren't quite like the original, but did pretty much the same thing. And when the heresy eventually came about, the World Eaters sided with the traitors, and decimated a lot of the Imperium. A notable event of the World Eaters, actually, would be the Shadow Crusade. Mainly, this was a word-bearer conflict, however, the World Eaters were also there, just to confuse you a little bit more. The two Primarchs fought a Calth and were nearly crushed by a Warhound Titan when Angron managed to save Lorgar by holding up the Titan's foot in an incredible feat of strength. And after this, Guilliman would confront both Angron and Lorgar to try and kill them once and for all. Little to Guilliman's knowledge, this was the best fucking thing that could have happened to Lorgar, as amidst all the raging war around them and the colossal duel of the fucking Primarchs, all the violence and bloodshed was the perfect offering to Khorne to transform Angron from Widow Angwan to Demon Primarch of Khorne. That pretty much summarizes the World Eaters, though. Now in the 42nd millennium, they're a bunch of fractured warbands who all want nothing more than wanton slaughter for laughing gods. Angron is around to lead them, but he's been banished quite a number of times, and Karn is also there as the main representative of Khorne. Every time he's slain, he is resurrected by Khorne to keep on fighting, which is one of the reasons why he's still kicking now. So far, they have participated in multiple invasions. The fall of Cadia, other wars. But in reality, the World Eaters are all fucking cooked in the head, bro. They're really just kind of go wherever they can to massacre people. I'm gonna take a little sippy of water. Sippy of water. Oh, I'm so hydrated. So healthy, great. My friends say less. The World Eaters are a melee semi-elite army with some really fun faction rules, which I'll get out of the way first. The World Eaters faction rule is Blessings of Khorne, which at the start of the battle rounds, you can roll 86s and pick 2 funny buffs from the Blessings of Khorne table depending on your roll. It can be a little confusing, so I'll shrimplify. Every time your turn starts, but not on the opponent's round, right? You roll 8 dice. The buffs on the table can only be bought depending on certain rolls that you make, and you can only get 2 buffs per battle round. Rage Fueled Invigoration, for example, requires any double roll, so a double 2, double 3, double 5, etc. If you rolled even 1 of any kind of double on those 8 dice, you can buy this buff for this battle round and apply it to 1 unit. They move 2 inches faster. Not so hard, is it? This is about as complex as the rules get for World Eaters, as the doubles and triples you need are all specified on which rules they are. And the better the rule, the better the roll. The current detachment rule for World Eaters, though, is much simpler. Relentless Rage. You charged, +1 to strength and attacks. Easy peasy. You can drink Elmer's glue and have fun with that one. Now's the real fun stuff. The army. World Eaters have a strict no psychers policy, much like Black Templars. If you like bullshit shenanigans, this is not your army. World Eaters are straight shots. You get what you get. Melee is melee. This doesn't mean they don't have ranged options. Jackals, Berserkers, both have pistols. But if you're getting into firefights as World Eaters, you're kinda missing the point or not playing them right. World Eaters is about close quarters combat. Melee is the name of the game, baby. Smash Bros. Melee! And the main infantry units are good at melee. Starting off with some basic infantry. Corn Berserkers. Very much John Melee. They have the obligatory bolt pistol slash plasma pistol. So they aren't completely fucked in range. But damn good melee profile. 4 attacks per unit, +1 if you charge. Hitting on 3s, strength 5, +1 if you charge. AP 1, 1 damage. With the option to bring 2 Eviscerators in a 10-man squad, which is just so good. So good. In addition to this, Corn Berserkers also have the Blood Circle, which allows you it allows them to move d6 inches closer to the closest enemy unit whenever a guy is killed as a result of shooting. A guy dies because someone shot at him, you roll d6, move towards closer unit. Very tasty. And 200 points for 10-man squad, you ideally want to save more guys than you lose, but you've got more than fucking enough attacks to kill God himself if he wanted to. But if you hate armor, then perhaps the Jackals are more your style. The Cornified Chaos Cultists sport mandatory auto pistols and a plethora of melee weapons with the additional big melee toys for every 10 guys in the squad. Or gals. Girls are fine too. The default weapon for the chaff infantry is the Jackal Chainblades. 2 attacks, sustained hits 1, hitting on 4-ups, default strength and AP. Not bad for infantry clearing, but they do struggle against more chunky units like Marines or Rotan. But for them, you can bring a Dishonored with their Dishonored Chainblades. 3 attacks, sustained hits 1, strength 4, hitting on 4-ups. It's a little better. But ideally, you bring the special weapons, the spicy stuff for maximum melee. The Mauler Chainblade is a solid 2-attack heavy bolter profile, which hits on 5s, and the Skull Smasher is a groovy 4 attack, strength 4, AP 1, 2 damage. Hurty Thing, which is great for those aforementioned slightly chunky infantry units, like Marines or Votan. Paired with a 6-up Fiona Pain and 20 guys for 140 points, they are not bad for delivering some good objective holding power and damage. Like normal CSM, the World Eaters get access to a limited selection of CSM tanks to play around with, plus the special World Eaters trademark exclusive melee unit, called the 8-bound. They are special. They're special units, featuring some of the most fucked melee I've seen since the Lion. Okay, coming in squads 3 to 6 for 145 or 290 points respectively. They pack quite a fucking punch. The default loadout is the 8-bound Eviscerators, which are a really good high attack anti-elite weapon paired with the champion's either Lacerators or Heavy Chainglaive. The 8-bound can do some mean damage to all infantry types, whether that be hordes, elite units. These guys have both the profile and attacks to fuck hard. In addition to this, their ability of Scout 6 inches and Beacons of Rage make them both an excellent unit to support your normal berserkers with wound roll rerolls and good movement, and a fantastic elite hit squad to get rid of pesky elite units on your opponent's side of the field. Not only are they fast, great at melee, but they also support a 5-up invulnerable save to make damaging them that much harder. And in addition to the default 8-bound, World Eaters get the Exalted 8-bound, who have even bigger weapons and abilities than the normal 8-bound, right? Scout 6 inches, right? Straight up fucking Deep Strike. Go fuck yourself. Deep Strike. 5-up invuln save, Nah, feel no pain 6 up with the info. Buff melee with reruns? Fuck it. Can't run away from melee anymore. You're stuck. And their weapons? Oh, holy shit. Every model has both an eviscerator and a chain fist. Plus the champion, right? Can bring either the heavy chain glaive to remove infantry faster than drinking fucking super glue removes the years of my lifespan, or twin chain fists for maximum fisting power. Pair melee skills like that with something like a squad of Terminators, a Predator, maybe a Land Raider, maybe a Lord of Skulls. Who the fuck knows? Slap in some good leader units like Karn, the Lord Invocatus for the 8-bound, and maybe even Angron himself, which don't even get me started on that man. My god. You know the meme where it's like, the sword can have a long name, don't want to fuck with that. I'd rather deep throat a cactus before I go up against something like that. Strongler. That's Angron, right? You have Karn the Betrayer. Pretty good unit. And then you just have Angron. And oh boy, is he fucking terrifying. Not only does his profile look like this, but he can come back from the dead. Be afraid. That's pretty much the World Eaters. Beyond 2 inches of range, not so scary. Just some dudes with funny looking sticks, you know? Look at the fucking knuckle dragging, says the Tal player with his virgin pulse carbine. You know, then round 2 comes a knockin', and that World Eater is breathing down your neck, and you're reading the melee profile, realizing how unimaginably fucked you are. Right, just you try to go on Google to find a word for how ass-reaming butt-fucked you are, and all it shows up is the fucking guess I'll die meme. That's World Eaters. That's World Eaters. If you like this video, please feel free to comment, like, and subscribe, and maybe I'll mention you in something like a hot takes comment part of the video. Fuck yeah. That could be fun. I could challenge the viewers to hit me with the funniest insult, like, I can smell what kind of games you play from this side of the monitor. You know? Or just straight up rage.
Rock and roll McDonald's! Rock and roll!